your story. And this event is a partnership between the SciTech Internship Program and the Lewis Stokes North Star STEM Alliance. So my name is Becky Siegmeyer. I am the program director for the SciTech Internship Program. And with me is Molly Mitchell, our student outreach coordinator, and Tai Do, who is a graduate research assistant with the North Star STEM Alliance. The purpose of the workshop today is to help you learn how to effectively tell your story in the context of a job search. So in respect for your time and the already abundance of online learning that you have, we are going to make this a fast-paced event, and we're going to provide actionable information and tools and resources that you can use immediately. So don't be frustrated if you don't finish every activity. Each one is designed to help you get off to a good start, but not necessarily walk away with a finished product. So all the resources from today's workshop are available on a Google Drive, and Molly is going to put that link into the chat if she hasn't already. And we're telling you that up front so that you know that these resources are all available and you don't feel like you have to try to write everything down. We're going to cover quite a bit of ground. So instead you can just listen and maybe take a few notes here and there. We're going to record today's event as well. So if you're so inclined to go back and revisit certain parts of the presentation, you'll be able to do that as well. By the end of today's workshop, you should be able to do a couple of things. First, articulate the importance of the ability to share your story during the job search process. You want to be able to describe what an elevator pitch is, when and where to use it, and then we'll actually be creating an elevator pitch a little bit later today. And then you want to also be able to identify the building blocks to use when you're going to craft a response to the story, "Tell me about yourself." And then you'll actually get a chance to demonstrate how to respond to that question a little bit later as well. So we are going to start off right off the bat with a warm-up activity, and this will get you into the flow of describing yourself to someone else. This activity is designed to kind of put you in the hot seat and create a little stress, so please listen carefully to the instructions. Here's what we want you to do. Go ahead and jot down a couple reasons why you chose your major, then a couple of experiences that you'd like to get in an internship or an occupation that you'd like to pursue. Just write down the first words that come to mind. You don't need to write full sentences, and you'll have about 20 seconds to complete the activity. We're going to leave the instructions up for reference. I'm going to get my timer ready here. Okay, so when you're done, tell us in the chat, how did this activity make you feel? Just 1 or 2 word answers are good, are going to be good. So, okay, 20 seconds. Instructions are on the screen. Are you ready? Go. Okay. All right, share how this activity made you feel. If you haven't already, I'm going to look at the chat here and see what people are saying. Okay. Rushed. Yeah, very rushed, stressed. Right. That's right. Exactly. That's how you're supposed to feel. That was how we wanted the activity to make you feel. It's not very comfortable, is it? When you feel like you're kind of being put on the spot. And that's pretty common for most people. It's really challenging to think clearly when you're feeling under pressure. And especially if you've had no preparation or time to think about how you want to respond to something. But when you give when you give an anticipated question some thought in advance, it's way easier to respond with a good answer. So that's kind of the point of our presentation today, is to help you learn how to tell your story. All right. So when employers are looking to fill a position, they're not just looking for a certain skill set. They're also looking for someone who's going to be a good fit for their organization's values and culture. And when you're evaluating your options, you want to make sure that you find a company that's a good fit for you as well. So it's important to learn how to tell your story how to articulate who you are and what you want. The power of knowing how to describe yourself is going to help with all aspects of the job search and even in everyday interactions when you meet new people. Taking assessments are really a great way to get an understanding of yourself and how to communicate your capabilities. Assessments provide concepts to help you describe what you're naturally good at and may give you some ideas about the jobs and types of careers that you might enjoy. The words that you get from an assessment can be really useful when you're crafting your resume, working on your LinkedIn profile, writing a cover letter, those kinds of things, even describing yourself at like a networking event, and certainly in interviews. So in short, self-knowledge can help you explain to potential employers the value you can bring to their company. The better you are able to communicate what you bring to the table, the more you're going to stand out as a candidate. So I found a couple of assessments that I really like, that I found helpful, and I think some of them are actually even kind of fun to do. So the first one is called High Five, and maybe you've heard of this. I know my son goes to the University of Minnesota, and he was the one who first told me about this assessment. It's a short online assessment to help you understand your strengths and guide your actions, decisions, and thoughts. It's free, so it's really a great place to start. You can see on the screen, high5test.com is where you're going to find that one. So that's a good place to start since it is free. The Clifton Strengths used to be called the Strengths Finders by the Gallup organization. This is another online assessment that provides a more in-depth look at your personality strengths. This one isn't free, but many colleges have like a cheaper student version that is much less expensive. So make sure you check with your college career center before you go online and pay full price. In fact, it's really a great idea to schedule some time with your career center because they have so many different assessment tools and they can be extremely helpful. They are ready to help you make sense of all that information and then help you put it to work. I would also encourage you to take a look at an article that I found on a site called The Muse. And The Muse is a fantastic site. I highly encourage you to explore that. There's all kinds of great articles there. But the article that I found is called The 13 Best Career Tests and Quizzes to Help You Find Your Dream Job. And Molly's going to include a link to that article and a PDF of it as well. So go ahead and take a look at that. Are there any questions about assessments before we move on? Hopefully you're all familiar with those. I think those are generally something that people do not too long after they get to school. Okay, you maybe even did some of these in high school. Okay, so we're gonna keep moving then. And we're gonna do our first poll. And the poll is, we'd like to know, how likely are you to take an online assessment to help you learn how to tell your story? So go ahead and respond now. You can say very likely, somewhat likely, not sure, or unlikely. We'll just leave the poll open here for a few seconds, so be sure to vote now. Okay, still seeing some responses coming in. Okay, I'm gonna wait one more second. All right, we're going to end the polling and share the results. All right, looks like you're somewhat likely. Hopefully that means that you've already taken some assessments at some point. I strongly recommend those. All right, let's keep going. And we are going to do the elevator pitch. Okay, and I got my slides out of order here. Hang on a second. Well, basically, the elevator pitch is called an elevator pitch because you don't have very much time when you're going from one floor to another to get your point across with somebody. And that's why they call it an elevator pitch. So in a few minutes, we're going to go into breakout rooms and give you some time to create a pitch all your own. One of the things that I want you to keep in mind here is an elevator pitch is not something where you want to just ramble on and on when you're talking to like a recruiter, or maybe you're doing an informational interview with somebody. You really want to give some very brief information about yourself, and then ask a question to engage the listener. Because if it goes on much longer than that, it's going to be awkward for you, and it's going to be awkward for the person that you're talking to, and it'll start to feel kind of rehearsed. So this elevator pitch template is going to be super helpful. Molly's going to post this text right into the chat, so you can copy it out of there. We're also going to give you a template with some examples, and you can take a picture of your screen for reference for when we go into the breakout rooms. So essentially, there are 4 parts to an elevator pitch. You're going to give them your name. You're going to say what your major is, and if it's not obvious, tell them what college you go to, and then tell them one piece of information. You're interested in learning more about a certain topic, or you're looking to get experience in a particular skill or an area of interest, or you're really interested in working for a small company or a large company or something to that effect, and then engage the other person by asking a question. So we're going to look at 3 examples here. Okay, the first one is something that a biomedical engineering major might say. Hi, my name is Becky Siekmeyer. I'm majoring in biomedical engineering at the University of Minnesota. I've taken some classes in medical device design, and I have an interest in 3D printing. I'm looking for an internship that combines these 2 things. I read that your company develops catheters. Do your interns get involved in product design? And if so, what qualifications do your interns need to have? Okay, so that's one example. And again, these are in that template that Molly uploaded to the chat. Our second example is something that a computer science major might say. Hi, I'm Molly Mitchell. I'm about to graduate with a degree in computer science from Winona State. I've got some experience in mobile app development, and I really enjoy both back-end coding and UX design. I'd like to work in a startup company or a small company where I could work on a broad range of projects. What advice do you have on how to best make connections in the Twin Cities startup scene? Okay, again, these are just examples. Yours is going to look very different, I'm sure. Our third example is something that a biology major might say. I saw that we had a couple biology majors in the group. So, hi, my name is Tai. I'm majoring in biology at Augsburg. I've taken some classes in environmental science that I really enjoyed, and so I'm looking for an internship that combines these 2 subjects. I saw that your company does water quality testing. Could you please tell me more about the backgrounds of the people at your company who do this work? Okay, here we go. We're going to take about 10 minutes to go into breakout rooms so that you can work on creating your own elevator pitch and then practice it with the other people in your breakout room. So if you haven't already done so, make sure you download the template with the elevator pitch and the examples. You can even copy the text right out of the chat window of the template. So take the first 5 minutes of the activity to write out your elevator pitch using the template provided. And then when you're done, let the other people in your breakout room know that you're ready to practice your pitch, and then take turns giving each other some feedback as well. We'll have coaches available to move in and out of break rooms to see how you're doing. And you can communicate with us by clicking on, there's a little question mark at the bottom of the screen when you get into the breakout room, and that will let us know back in the main room that you need some help. So the breakout rooms will close in 10 minutes. You'll get a 1-minute warning, and then you'll automatically be moved back to the main session. And we'll be looking for 2 volunteers, 2 brave volunteers to share their pitches when we come back. All right, are there any questions before we go? Okay, does this require that we do research about companies before we create our elevator pitch? It could, if you are targeting certain companies before you go to a career fair, Certainly the first three things are probably something that are going to come internally from what you're looking for. And then the question that you ask, certainly it's a great idea if you can tailor those to the companies that you're going to be talking to. I think that's a great idea. Yeah, okay. Whoops, sorry. All right, any other questions? Otherwise, again, just take a stab at doing this, and it doesn't have to be perfect, okay? Ty, go ahead and put people into the breakout rooms, and I'm gonna set the timer for 10 minutes.
Yep.
We're all back. Okay, very good. Well, welcome back, everybody. I hope that went okay. We'd like 2 people to share their elevator pitch, and you can do that by copying and pasting your text into the chat, and we'll read a couple of them. And while you brave souls are out there copying your stuff into the chat, you can also put some comments in about, and don't worry if you didn't finish, just put in whatever you came up with. So we're curious to know also how the template worked for you. So it looks like we've got Ridwan. Thank you for posting something. Okay, he said, hi, I'm Ridwan. I'm majoring in biology in the College of Biological Sciences, as well as environmental public health at the University of Minnesota School of Public Health. I'm interested in finding an internship to gain experience in the field of public health and policy. I saw that your company advocates for healthcare for all Americans by engaging the community and pushing for important health policies. I saw that you're looking for people to aid you in this mission. Can you give me more or tell me more about the kind of people you're looking for? Wow, nailed it. That is excellent. Great, really good job. Yeah, that's exactly right. It sounds like you, Ridwan, you've probably thought about this before, and if you just came up with this right off the top of your head, that's pretty amazing. But yeah, that's exactly what you want to do, is you tell them just a little bit about who you are. You've clearly thought about what you're looking for, and then that's a really great question to ask. So that is exactly what we're looking for. How did everybody else feel about the exercise? Was it helpful to have a template to sort of walk you through things? Go ahead and put your comments in the chat if you've got any questions. We'll take just another minute or two on this before we move on to our next thing. Template was helpful. Very good. Okay, good. Awesome. All right. Yeah, so this isn't rocket science, but not like the stuff that you guys are doing in your classes. But it does take a little bit of time to think about, because if you suddenly find yourself at a career fair and you got to walk up and talk to somebody you've never met and you're a little bit nervous, if you haven't really thought about this in advance, it's well, at least for me, it's a difficult thing to do. So good job. Okay, let's take, oh, I thought we were doing another poll. Oh yeah, well, let's see. Share your pitch. Oh, sorry that we were on that screen. Okay, it's time to take another poll. Our second poll is, tell us if you were able to create a useful elevator pitch in this activity. So you can say strongly agree, agree, somewhat disagree, disagree, strongly disagree. Just let us know what you think. Okay, we're just going to leave it open for a few more seconds. Okay, it looks like maybe everyone has voted. So we'll go ahead and close the poll, share the results. Okay, so we're at least we're not in anybody's some disagreed. So that's a good thing. Yeah, hopefully you found the template will be helpful, at least in going forward here. So when you get ready to work on your real elevator pitch, you'll have somewhere to start. So, and that's the whole plan. Okay. Now we're going to move into our next subject, which is how to answer the question, tell me about yourself. Okay, so This is something that is often going to be the very first question that you get when you are in an interview. Hang on one second. Somehow I got my notes are all mixed up here. Okay, sorry. Okay, so you should be prepared to answer this question because it's going to come up. It's going to come up whether you're in a real job interview, whether you're in an informational interview, a phone interview, or even at a networking event. And some similar questions that people are going to ask you are going to be something like, walk me through your resume, or tell me something about you that's not on your resume. You might be thinking, so what do you want to know? How am I supposed to decide what to share? These kinds of questions are purposefully ambiguous and open-ended, and it can be really hard to tell what the interviewer is looking for. The great thing is that you get to decide what direction your answer is going to take and what information you want to reveal. You are in the driver's seat. So interviewers are going to ask this question because they want to hear a snapshot of your background and skills, and this will give them some insight into what experiences and qualifications you think are most relevant to the position that you're applying for. The answer to this question is not to share your whole life story. You want to reveal both basic and strategic information about yourself as it relates to the position that you're interviewing for. This is your opportunity to create a theme about who you are, to lay the groundwork for how you want the interviewer to perceive you, your strengths, your experience, and your aspirations. So this may sound kind of daunting, but you're going to do this in the form of telling a story. Stories are much easier to remember than a set of facts, especially when you're telling a story about yourself. It will feel much more natural, which is going to put you at ease. A simple formula for creating your response is to think about this question in terms of your past, present, and future. And you can swap the order of past and present if that makes more sense. So let's look at this a little bit more closely. With the past, you're going to tell the interviewer briefly how you got to where you are now. How did you get interested in your major or your field of study? If there's a particularly relevant story about what drew you to your major, feel free to include that. You just want to keep it brief, keep it high level, and then mention any previous experience when it's relevant to the job or the company that you're applying for. For the present, you're going to talk a little bit about what you're doing currently, especially if it relates, again, to the job that you're applying for. And you may want to include a recent accomplishment. For the future, a good place to end your story is to talk about what you're looking to do next, and then transition into why you're here for the interview. You want to give the impression that it makes sense that you are sitting in that chair and applying for that interview. You want to help the interviewer connect the dots. This isn't the only way to build your response, obviously, but it's a good place to start. So whichever order you pick, just make sure that you tie the response to the job and the company. Okay, there are a few guidelines here from a great article called 8 More Tips for Answering Tell Me About Yourself. Again, it's from my favorite resource, The Muse. And Molly's going to put a link to the article in the chat. I think there's a PDF of it as well. Okay, so first of all, I can't say it enough to tailor your answer to the role and the company that you're applying for. What the interviewer means when they ask this question is, tell me about yourself as it's relevant to the position you're applying for. They're giving you an opportunity to make your case for why you are the right person for the job. Your best source of information to tailor your answer is the company's job description. Spend some time really reading through it and then do a little research on the company. This information will help you tell your story in a way that makes sense and makes it clear why you're interested in the position and then what you bring to the table. Use keywords from the job description in your answer. That I can promise you that will demonstrate that you've done your homework. Second thing is keep it professional. This is not the time to start talking about your friends, your family, your hobbies, and that sort of thing. You want to be succinct. Your answer should only take 30 seconds to a minute. This is not the time to get into rambling. Inject some passion about your field or about the company in your answer. Your goal in an interview is to stand out amongst the applicant pool and be memorable. Practice, but don't memorize your response. You do not want to wait until you get this question in a live interview to try out your answer for the first time. Think through what you want to convey about yourself and then practice saying it out loud. In the Muse article, they talk about recording your answer like on your phone and then going back and listening to it like an hour later. Let it sit for a while and then see if you sound credible to yourself. Okay, next, you want to make sure that you know your audience. Make sure you understand who you're talking to. Usually in the first interview, it's going to be like some kind of an HR person or somebody that's more kind of that screening level. And you want to keep your answers focused on kind of the bigger picture, unless you know that you're going to be meeting with your potential boss. If that's the case, you can get a little bit more technical in your answer. You want to keep things positive. Never, ever, ever badmouth your current employer, a former employer, professors, colleagues, teammates, that sort of thing. Keep it positive. And related to that, you want to make sure that you're making a good first impression, because your response to this question can overshadow the whole rest of the interview. So you want to start off on a good foot. You can show the interviewer that you are really prepared for this question, and it'll help you feel a lot more confident. Okay, so we're going to take a look at a couple of examples that are specific to STEM majors. Okay, here's one that a biomedical engineering student might say, and see if you can spot the formula of the present, past, future in this one. I'm a senior at the U of M, majoring in biomedical engineering. When I was a kid, I saw my grandpa struggle with his health because he had an irregular heartbeat. I saw how life-changing it was to his quality of life when he got a pacemaker, and that got me really interested in medical devices. I want to be part of the design and research for a solution that improves people's lives, which is why I'm so excited to learn more about the internship your company is offering. Okay, here's a computer science example, and the formula this time is past, present, future. Okay, when I was young, my parents used to let me play with an old PC that was sitting in their office. I had a lot of fun poking around and trying out different buttons, and I quickly figured out how to navigate my way around. One day, my mom signed me up for a kids coding camp, and it was love at first sight. Since then, I've built dozens of apps for fun. I feel so fortunate that I've always known that I want to work in the tech industry. Now I'm a sophomore studying software engineering at Mankato State, and I'm really interested in applying my knowledge at the next level. I was really drawn to your mobile app internship, especially because the position requires JavaScript, which I know really well. I am excited to see my work go live in a real-world setting and look forward to learning more about this position. Okay, and finally, here's a chemistry example. The formula here is present, past, future. I love to bake. The more complicated the recipe and the more exotic the ingredients, the better. So it was only natural that when I took my first chemistry class in high school, I absolutely loved it. It's so fascinating for me to see how different compounds react to each other. When we learned about Marie Maynard Daly, an American biochemist who researched compounds and the effect they have on digestion, I realized I could combine these two interests in food science. I'm a chemistry major at St. Olaf, and I'm really interested in applying my lab skills in product development. That's why I'm so interested in this internship at General Mills. So hopefully you saw in each of these examples the past, present, future format. Okay, so we're going to take about 20 minutes to go into breakout rooms so that you can work on creating your story and then practicing it again with the other people in your room. If you haven't already done so, I believe Molly has downloaded or has already put a PDF of the Tell Me About Yourself examples and the into the chat. So take the first 10 to 15 minutes to write your story using the template provided. And again, do not worry about perfection, just get some ideas down. When you're done with your draft, let the other people in your chat room know that you are ready to take turns practicing with them, and then give each other some feedback. Find a volunteer from your group to share their story with the full group when we come back. And again, we'll have coaches moving in and out of the breakout rooms to see how you're doing. Again, you can communicate with us using that question mark at the bottom of your screen, and this will alert us that you need some help. So the breakout rooms will be closed in 20 minutes. Again, we'll give you that 1-minute warning to let you know when there's just a minute left, and then you'll automatically be moved back into the main session. Okay, are there any questions about this activity before we get started? Go back to, whoa. We were having such a good discussion. I'm kind of bummed that we had to end. So Khalid, if you want to stay after, we can talk a little bit afterward too. We don't have to end right away. We're almost done. So we were getting into a really good discussion. So happy to continue that. Okay. I think, is everybody back?
Yes, everyone should be back.
Okay, well, welcome back, everybody. I would love it if two brave souls would like to share their stories. Again, don't worry if you didn't get all the way through. Just show us what you've got so far. And I think, Ty, did we decide we're going to share that in the chat?
Yes. Students can definitely share or verbally share it if they want, but the chat is
okay.
The option.
Yeah. Feel free, yeah, if you want to, they just unmute themselves. Is that how they?
Yes.
Okay. Evelyn. Okay, Evelyn, go for it.
I didn't type it out. We were kind of talking the whole time, so
that's fine. Go ahead. I'm sorry, is it Eveline or Eveline?
No, it's Evelyn. Actually,
okay.
My name is Evelyn Sampson, and I attend the University of Minnesota. I'm pursuing a degree in information technology, and I discovered that was like the path I wanted to go on, because growing up, I always had an interest in programming and technology, and I was lucky enough to be exposed to those kind of things. But going into school, I knew that like something was missing, because while I enjoyed the programming, while I enjoyed, interacting with my laptop or like someone's tablet or someone's phone, I felt like I wasn't doing it for the reason I'd like to, until I took a class last semester that was actually about digital media and business. And we explored a lot of different topics, including like different kinds of like technology deficits in communities, and like how technology can be used to solve a lot of different problems. And that made me realize that I wanted to not just use technology and interact with it, but also use it specifically like to give back to a community or to like solve social problems. And so that is why it's so important for me to work at a company or to work with a program where the mission is in line with that, which is like working with a community, working to solve social problems. And that's the primary goal. And if we build products, if we like do a lot of cool things for clients along the way, that's a plus.
Wow. Excellent. Very good. Have you written this out before, or did you get all of that out of the examples that we had? You've given this some thought before.
From the examples, but then also my group was really cool. They kind of let me talk a lot. So I also have an internship I'm doing this coming summer. And so I tried to practice a lot and like do my research before then about the company.
Wow.
To make sure that it was like in line with what I like. And so a lot of practice, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was excellent. That was, yeah, I hope, well, we recorded this, so hopefully you can go back and listen to the recording, and then you can write down what you said, because it was great.
Thank you so much.
Okay, it looks like we have another example from Jasmine. I'm a senior in biomedical engineering.
We have 3 examples in the chat, Becky.
3, okay. I'm sorry.
Four examples in the chat.
4 examples. Okay.
Oh my gosh, another one. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to start with Kiana. Sorry, I hadn't scrolled up far enough. Okay, so Kiana says, I was 10 years old when I learned how to program and develop my first website. It was then that I fell in love with programming languages. Putting together my love for programming and building things with my own hands, it only made sense for me to go to college and study computer engineering. I'm now a fourth-year student at University of Minnesota Twin Cities and will be graduating in the spring of 2021. I'm interested in deepening my experience in what I currently love doing and hopefully grow into a managerial position. I'm excited and drawn to this position that you're offering because it requires experience with both software, hardware, and managing people, all of which I love. Oh my gosh, you guys these are excellent. Wow, these are fantastic. Okay, great job. Okay, Ridwan. All right, when I was younger, I came to the United States as a refugee, and I know what it feels like to not have the most basic of social safety nets like healthcare or a stable income. As I grew up, I saw more and more Americans in these conditions. I always had an interest in healthcare and sciences, so I went into biology. And during my time as a biology student, I decided to give some other areas of study a try, and that was when I came across public health. Public health taught me all the factors that go into health. It is not just illnesses we are treating, but we are healing the population as the whole, from socioeconomic factors that play a role in our day-to-day health. I learned that in order to understand the health and well-being of someone, we must understand the person. Their story and the conditions in which they live in this country plays a role in the overall health of not only them, but the population as a whole. I want to play a role in improving the health of fellow Minnesotans. That's why I want to work at the Minnesota Department of Health. Wow, these are great, really great, awesome. Keep in mind, and I know we got into a conversation when I was in the last breakout room, that remember, this is not the only time that you're going to be able to tell your story. You're actually going to be able to tell your story throughout the whole interview. There will be other questions that can get at some of these ideas. I know it's really hard when you're first asked this question. You want to tell somebody everything that you want them to know about you, but that's not really what you want to do with that question. I was talking about how it's kind of like when you're writing, an essay or you're writing a paper and you have an introduction and then your main points and then your conclusion. Kind of think of this question in the same way. It's the outline of who you are, a little bit about you, a little bit about your background, and then why you're there to have the interview. And so you want your answer to be no more than a minute. So if you take your draft and read it out loud to yourself and see how long it takes, you'll start to see where you could go back and say, okay, I could take this piece out or this piece out and try to keep it to a minute. Because if you start talking longer than a minute, it's really easy to start to ramble. And if you're an extrovert like me, I am my worst enemy when I get into an interview because I don't know when to stop talking. Because when I'm nervous, I talk more than I normally do. So that would be my advice to all of you as you're going through this, is to time it. Write it out, time it. You guys have just amazing content, and I'm gonna stop talking here so that I can read Jasmine's. Okay, I'm a senior in biomedical engineering. I've always had an interest in healthcare and originally wanted to become a doctor. But in high school, I fell in love with the experiments in my biochemistry classes and the problem solving in my computer science classes. By working with medical devices, I'm not only able to solve problems every day, but help millions at a time. After my first internship, I became interested in the regulations that drive medical device creation. I'm interested in the Department of DAE, I guess, DAE engineering position at Medtronic, as it allows me to work in product development and better understand the regulations that drive development. Perfect. These are great. You guys really got the past, present, future, or present, past, future thing. This is great. You guys have got a really good start. really amazing. I wish, I would love if we had enough time to share everybody's stories, because you guys are really fascinating. So great job. Anybody else want to share just comments at all on how this format worked for you? Did you find it helpful? Are you frustrated? Are you, how are you feeling right now about the activity? Anybody want to share? Okay, very helpful. Okay, good. All right. Well, I want to keep us on track here. So we have one more poll, and this one is tell us whether or not you were able to create a useful response to the question, tell me about yourself in this activity. So you can strongly agree, somewhat disagree, or strongly disagree. And Tai, I guess I don't know what our total count is for people now. Can you tell if we've got everybody in?
Just one more person.
One more? Okay, I'm gonna close the poll. There we go.
It is 100%.
Okay, so we're good. Thank you. Okay, so here are the results. Wow, that's great. At least half of you strongly agreed, and another 33% said that you agree and somewhat agree. Well, that's great. So thank you. Thank you for taking the poll and for letting us know what you're thinking about all the stuff that we've done so far. It's great. All right. So we're already at the point where we're going to do a recap here. So hopefully you've all learned that knowing how to talk about yourself and having that self-knowledge is really powerful. You want to learn how to tell your story and articulate your strengths and experiences. And remember that assessments are a really great way for you to get some information, to put together resumes and things like that. Make sure you make use of your career services office at your school. I tell that to students every time I meet with them. I think they are one of the most underutilized resources on campus. When you're creating an elevator pitch, remember to keep it short. You're just going to provide some basic information about yourself and then engage the other person by asking a question. And when creating your response to tell me about yourself, you want to tell a short story using that past, present, future format and be succinct and tie your reason for being at the interview to the position and the company. Make sure you save your drafts from today, and then you can keep working on them, keep developing them. And I strongly encourage you, if you take some time to do this now, and especially over the holidays, you'll be prepared when an opportunity suddenly pops up. We've created a folder on Google Drive that'll have today's presentation, notes and handouts, and hopefully eventually we'll figure out where we're going to store the recording. Not sure exactly where we're going to do that yet, but that will be coming. And you can access the folder through a link in the chat. So hopefully you all have that. Okay. Speaking of the future, we've got 3 more workshops coming up. One in January on working on your resume and LinkedIn profiles. We'll be doing another one on job search training in early February. And then our last one later in February will be on how to be a star in your next interview. Okay, so we'll make sure that everyone who signed up for today's workshop will be notified about those future workshops. So feel free to invite friends and classmates as well. And one last thing before we go, if you're looking for an internship for either now or next summer, make sure you sign up for the SciTech Internship Program. We help college students that are in STEM majors connect to paid internships in small companies all across the state. The state of Minnesota funds the program, and it provides a wage match to the employer. So when they hire a student through SciTech, so they have a big incentive to use the program to find their next intern. So you want to be in that pool. There are new jobs that get posted weekly, and Molly sends out an email to all the students who are registered for the program, so you can keep it. That happens every Friday, and that way you can keep track of all the opportunities that are coming up. And then, you know, some people are posting internships already now for next summer. So you'll see the eligibility requirements and on our website, which is scitechmn.org. And if you're curious, you can check out our blog and see what some of the SciTech internships look like. If you have any questions, you can reach out to Molly at the email address that's shown on the screen. And I believe she put links to both the website and the email into the chat. All right, so thanks very much for joining us. Like I said, we'll stick around here for a few more minutes to answer any questions that you have. If you'd like to get going, you got something else happening tonight. I hope you have a great weekend, and thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much. Becky,
We did have one question in the chat, Becky, from
Okay.
Kiana. What to do when you feel really nervous in the moment when you're telling your story?
Breathe. Yeah, the most important thing that I can say is be prepared as much as possible and rehearse ahead of time, you know, kind of go through it and do it. The more you do it, the more familiar you'll be with how you want to tell it. You can bring along to interviews, you can usually bring along a sheet of paper. Feel free to write down your outline. Just write down some keywords that'll kind of help you stay on track, something that you can refer to, and try to breathe. Try to slow down and breathe. You know, you take a drink of water. Usually somebody will offer you some water. But yeah, those would be. Molly, do you have anything that you think we should add to that?
Yeah, so something that I always find helpful, and I personally do this before I have an interview, is Googling a list of common interview questions and making sure I have an answer to every single one. So I think about it in advance sometimes, just because this is how my works. I like to write them down, or I'll practice saying them out loud to myself, like in the mirror, or maybe to a friend if you feel comfortable doing that. The more prepared you are, like you were saying, Becky, the more prepared you are to answer these questions, the less nervous you'll feel in the moment, because you'll be like, oh, I got that. I already know what I want to say for that. So in addition to breathing, I think practice common interview questions before you get started. Research the company. So if they say, what is it about our mission that appeals to you? And you're like, what's your mission? You know, you don't want to freak out in that moment. So do some research on the company as well.
Right.
That's
Really
those
good.
are my tips.
Tai, anything you would like to add to that?
Oh, no, I think, sorry, see, I'm choking on my words now. No, I really appreciate your advice for breathing and then practice. I think I obsessively practice in my head, but I always forget to practice out loud. And so that, and then I think just like reflecting on knowing that any progress that I made with the interview is progress, because otherwise, you know, if I chose not to have tried to interview, I would still be in the same place that I was. So just kind of reminding myself that like there's going to be next steps.
Right. Yep. And I think the more you interview, the more confident you get. It's a skill, just like anything else. But yeah, doing your research, writing out some thoughts ahead of time, practicing, recording yourself. You know, I've heard people say that a job hunt is a job in itself. So, you know, take it seriously.
Yes.
Do your homework for sure. And we're going to cover a lot of this in the workshop that we have coming up in. I guess that's the last one, how to be a star. But for those of you, if you don't make it to that one, I'll tell you right now, Google the STAR method, STAR. It's situation, task, action, result. And that's how, if you formulate, again, it's sort of an outline of how you're going to answer a question where somebody says, tell me about a time when, you know, pick a subject. you can you say, this is what the situation was. This is the task that I was supposed to complete. This is what happened, and this is the action that I took, and this was the final result. And so when you can format your responses in kind of this, you know, and get used to formatting all of your answers in that way, it helps you to not ramble, and it helps you to stay on track and stay focused on what the question was. Yeah, STAR method. Yep, very helpful. So, and we have a real short article on the SciTech blog. If you go to the scitechmn.org, click on blog, and then there's a search function, just put in STAR, and it should find that article. If you can't find it, contact us and we'll send it to you. We'll make sure you get it. That's really my best advice. Any other questions on stuff we talked about today? Khalid, I see you're still here. Did you want to talk some more about the last piece? Anybody else have questions on the things we covered today?
I actually have to get going, but I think what I'll do is I'll just look over the templates and just work on it. I have some time, so.
Okay. And feel free to reach out to us too. You saw the email, or you can go to the website, scitechmn.org, and on the contact us page, you'll see the emails there, and feel free to send us a draft and we'll help you work through it.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you. I'm glad you guys could be here. All right. Anybody else have a question? Or anybody else want to read their example and have us take a look at it? I think we're good. All right. Nice job. I think you're muted, Molly. Okay, very good. Look at that. We're done pretty much right on time.
Yeah.
4:32. That's amazing.
Awesome.
I
Yeah.
was
Good work, team.
Oh yeah, great job. I mean, this was fantastic and really great.